Hi guys, Blake here today with Lilley's Landing Resort in Marina on beautiful Lake Taneycomo. It is Thursday, the 10th of March, 2022, and I'm going to do the one cast for you today. So today I'm setting up here. I'm parked a little bit closer to the north bank, right above the tennis courts, and my first rig of the day is going to be a double scud rig. I've got one of our Lilley's Landing 6'6" medium light action rods here with a Presidential 25 reel, 4-pound monofilament line. I've got a size 12 snap swivel sliding up and down the line with a 1/16 ounce drop shot weight. I've got a size 12 barrel swivel connecting about 2.5–3 foot of line. I've got my first scud that is a size 12 gray going about a foot down below that. I've got a size 14 peppy gray scud. Oh, it is I have no idea what time it is. It's 4:30 in the afternoon. This morning, all the way up till about noon or 1, they ran 4 units of water. And now they are running 2 units, and that is what they're supposed to run for the rest of the day. I really don't know if this is where I want to put my first cast. I think I'm going to scoot a little bit closer into the bank here. I'm going to try to favor the boat a little bit out of the sun, or the camera I should say. Okay. Let out a little bit of extra line there as it hit the water. Give it, I'm using a little lighter weight than I probably could, but I say go as light as you can always. I might even use the trolling motor to slow the drift down just a bit, but I do let that little bit of extra line out to get that thing to the bottom. Oh my goodness. Okay. So I talked to Captain Dwayne earlier after he got back from his trip, and he said the fish were less grumpy today than he's seen them over the last couple days. They drug scuds up here in the trophy area, I believe is where they were at, all morning, and said they did pretty well, caught 25 or 30 fish. Now that was with the 4 units running. I don't know if they'll still eat the scud quite the same with the 2 units, but that's what I decided to try today. I've got a good bump across the bottom. Let's turn that camera this way. And this 16th ounce weight is actually hitting the bottom just about like I want it to, so. A little bit prettier today. It's man, I should probably just turn that phone off. In the mid 50s, and we got snow in the forecast for late tonight and tomorrow. I'm not sure exactly what has caused all of it, but the water here has cleared up quite a bit from this winter. Kind of stayed a little dingy all winter, but it is clearing up nicely. It is very clear. So the wind is kind of tugging on the boat a little bit, but you always want that line drifting straight off the end of your rod tip, and it was going this way because of the wind, so I took the boat and scooted it back this way to get a nice straight drift. I talked to Captain Robbie Dotson. He was down below Fall Creek, kind of by Short Creek, and he said the bite was fair. They were dragging night crawlers. Said they lost a big one down on the flat by all the trees that are down over there. Had a big fish break them off. I hit a couple snags there through that drift. I just want to, no fish on the first cast. I want to pull this in and make sure I don't have moss all over the scuds there. And I do. We weren't going to catch a fish like that anyway. But other than that, I don't have any fishing reports. It's a really pretty day to be on the water, I know that. I brought a jig rod with me today, just in case I couldn't find any on the scuds here. With the water clearing up as much as it has, it could be a factor of putting a more see-through like fluorocarbon leader instead of the monofilament, or going down a size of the 2-pound leader. Sometimes that can make a difference when the water's real clear and the sun's real bright. And sometimes whenever the water's real clear like this, the smaller 14 and 16s versus the 12 that I have on there might work better. I feel like I'm still catching the bottom a bit though. I think I got moss again. Yep. Darn it. I'm not casting too terribly far away from the boat. You don't have to have it super far out there for this. We are coming up on the brown house. I think I've heard some reports over the last week that dragging the scud and the egg pattern below Fall Creek has also caught some fish. So that might be worth a try. Man. Either I don't have the right scuds on here, or these fish are just grumpy again. It's getting really tempting to pick up the jig rod. I'm gonna reel this one in, check for moss again. Okay, well, so far I'm picking up just enough moss to kind of ruin the drift there. we're gonna see if I can manage 2 rods at once here. I've got an all sculpin jig on here, 2-pound test. We are getting ready to go over the narrows. I've got that scud rod locked in underneath the cleat there so that if something does grab it, it doesn't take off with my rod. There's a fish. Hee hee. So something I've always found out here on Lake Taneycomo is that whenever it's a bright sunny day, this your olives or your sculpin colors seem to do pretty good. Hey. That's enough of that. I don't know how he did this. There's a little chunky rainbow. There we go. Sure that my scud rigs are covered in moss again. Just go ahead and reel this one in. It was an attempt. Something I could have done differently was potentially make the leader a little bit shorter. Sometimes that helps keep it off the bottom when it's dragging. And that size 12 scud I have on there, I didn't really look too closely whenever I was putting them on there. I didn't have much time to rig up, but it's also possible that that size 12 might be a weighted scud. It might have just enough lead on it to get it digging through the moss. And so a lot of the times I like to use the not weighted scuds when I'm dragging, let the weight get them down there. But it is possible that size 12 has enough lead wrap on it to kind of sink it down and make it drag the bottom a little too hard. So we'll just stick with the jig for the rest of the time here. The wind is picking up here through the narrows. I'm going to keep my line real close to the water, on top of the water, in between my jigs. That'll help that jig keep sinking. really picked up. Sometimes you can take advantage of the wind. So right now the wind's blowing me back upstream, and so it's causing that jig to swing past the boat. Sometimes that swinging action is something the trout really like. So I'm just kind of giving it a little more time in between each jigging motion and letting it sink down and swing back behind the boat. I broke the bail spring on my rod here, or on my reel, when I was down on the White River in Arkansas, and I have not replaced it. I kind of forgot about that before I started casting it a second ago. There's a fish. I'm on a spot lock right here. So right here in front of the island, there's another one. Or I shouldn't say in front of the island, but along the side of Eagle Island, there's this big root wad and log, that kind of U-shaped. And in front of it is kind of a big eddy pocket. Right before I hooked that fish, I saw another fish jump. And so there might be a little school of rainbows kind of locked in this pocket. So I'm going to spot lock here for just a second and try to work this little pocket of water. There's another one. Yeah, I think there might be some fish right here. And he really tried to eat the jig there. Okay, give me my line back. I'm not even sure how he did that. There we go. Little guy. And sometimes you get lucky and you find a little pocket of fish. I will say though that this pocket in particular it's always a good one to fish in. If there were a whole bunch of boats out here drifting this section, I probably wouldn't spot lock right here, but I don't see anybody coming, so we'll take advantage. But any pocket that you can find kind of eddies and the bank drops in like this, it's probably a good spot to throw a jig in. I'm gonna scoot down just a touch, kind of a little bit closer to the front side of that root wad. Drop down about 10 foot. Right there. So as that jig swings back behind the boat, I'll stop reeling and I'll just kind of let it drift and pop it. That'll keep that jig sinking down. Keep it in the zone a little bit longer. And if I'm working a pocket like this, I'll do different length casts and kind of swing it in each little zone. I don't cast to the same spot every time. And like with this cast, I went a little farther upstream with it, give that jig a little push to the bottom faster. And we'll do one more in this pocket and then we'll keep drifting. That time I took it all the way up near the bank where the water's even slower. Alright, no such luck. We're going to keep drifting. Might be able to get one more cast in that area before we drift out of it. Oh yeah. That time I put my cast kind of right in front of the root wad. See if there's any fish sitting right below it, waiting for something to come by. Got a few more fish jumping right here at the end of the log. Water kind of tails out, flattens there. A little bit of a drop off right in front of that log. Might be a fish or two waiting in that riffly water there. Oh, the front side of this island that we're going over now, the flat here, tends to hold a lot of sculpin fish. Just kind of the geography of the area. It's a lot shallower, so I'm working the jig quite a bit faster. I'm still kind of getting sucked back and dragging the jig a little bit behind the boat. So to remedy that, I will cast downstream a little more. Don't be afraid to cast up real shallow on this island. I've definitely caught fish setting up there in that super shallow water on a jig. On days when the flow is kind of like it is right now. This flat is another great spot to drag scuds over. Uh-oh. Alright, we'll do a couple casts by these logs at the end of Eagle Island, and I think we're going to call it a day. Right here at the end of the island, it starts getting deeper again. And anytime you have this structure spots where it goes from a flat to deeper, or where you got the logs, they're always good spots to try. There's a fish right there in front of that tree. Oh, we don't get to look at him. He put the jig back in my finger. Alright, one more cast. Last cast. Right at the end of this last tree. Water kind of tails out into an eddy here at the end of the island where it slows down. Okay, that's it. Well, we thank you guys for watching. Wound up finding a few happier fish there. And we'll be back out to do it again tomorrow. Thanks, guys.